So let's get started with today's topic. Today's topic is swing trading in Deepvue. So I want to start with some of the things that are important to swing traders in Deepvue. So when we're swing trading the markets, we're looking for momentum. We're looking for magnitude of move. So, 100% move in 10 weeks, etc. We're looking for momentum to the upside and the downside in the markets. So to capture that, to capture the essence of swing trading is, to capture moves that are directional in nature, and that direction could be to the upside or the downside. Most people tend to trade the upside, which is perfectly fine. But today, what we'll go over is some of the things that are available in the platform that will help you out quite a bit. The second thing we look for as swing traders is very tight consolidations or patterns that are forming in the markets on a technical basis, right? Tight price action with dry up in volume leads to directional movement to the upside or downside in the markets, right? So that's the second thing that we look for. We look for tight price action in names that have moved up quite a bit, but now are forming new consolidations, right? Continuation entries are key for swing traders, where they might have, grab some stock at the initial pivot, and then, as it runs up, consolidates again. We're, as swing traders, we enter those names that are holding, let's say, the 21-day, the 50-day, or the 10-day, and we want to be able to scan for those and set things up, scan for those in an easy way. And that's how we think at Deepvue. The team, Richard is a swing trader. Nick Schmidt, he's the longer time frame, but kind of thinks in the same way, but based on the weekly. So we've incorporated a lot of those different, swing trading aspects, which I'll cover today. So I want to get started with one of the most important things that we've implemented, which is relative measured volatility. And we'll build a real-time scan, and I haven't pre-made it on purpose, just to show you guys some of the value of, the screener itself, and how we've configured things. So first up, I'll click new screen is what I did. And what we're going to scan for is basically tight stocks, right? How do I find tight stocks in the market very, very quickly? So if I go ahead and look for RMV, right? RMV, relative measured volatility. If you hover over it, this is a calculation that we've made for you to visualize tight price action, but also scan for tight price action. So RMV looks for tight stocks in the entire database very, very quickly. And the way it works is, let's add it as an indicator first, just to give you guys a visual, and then we'll get into what it really means. So if I bring up relative measured volatility, and let's just zoom into the daily and pick a stock like, let's just say NVIDIA, right? Everybody knows about NVIDIA. So if I bring this up, now they're very, key spots that we would want to know as swing traders in the market. I'm going to get rid of the data panel, get rid of the stats table, and we're going to work. I really want to hone in on this concept because I think it's really, really key. And it will help you guys scan a lot faster for these stocks. So what we see with NVIDIA is we have this huge base, right? And then we break out and we run up. Now, the name of the game is, if we look at it from this perspective, we want to know when a stock is getting tight and we're seeing consolidation in the name. So if I were to look at this price action right here, right? And let's also get rid of all moving averages and keep it very simple with just volume, relative measured volatility, and price. So we're starting to see tightness in the stock, right? Breaks down and then breaks out. And how do we define that tightness, right? It could be, as of today, it's very visual. It's, you have to flip hundreds of charts, and what's tight to your eye may not be tight to another person's eye, may not be, or your eye may not be trained enough, or you're not experienced enough, right? So this tool, relative measured volatility, kind of does that for you, where you're taking the guesswork out of it, and you're setting up your charts in a way to say that, okay, NVIDIA in this, zone right here is relatively tight, because the relative measured volatility, which is an oscillator from zero meaning the stock is now tightest it's traded in the settings that you have, which, a 15-day basis, or it's the most volatile it's been on a 15-day basis as well. So relative measured volatility just oscillates from 0 to 100 being the most volatile in 15 days, and 0 being the least volatile or tight in the last 15 days. Now, obviously, you can set it to your time frame, right? If you like the 21-day or a 20-day basis better, or you like the 20-day basis better, this will auto calculate that and give you that oscillator from 0 to 100 based on whichever look back period. But let's just take the default 15 and see how it kind of helps us. So every time we're getting, into this zone where it's closer to 0, price action will be tight. So price action was tight. Now it doesn't guarantee it. Is it going to go to the upside? Is it going to go to the downside? Tightness in price action only gives us the fact that we're going to get directional movement from these spots. So if we pick this spot right here, so relative measured volatility moves closer to 0. The volatility on NVIDIA on a 15-day basis has been decreasing. It's gotten very tight. We see a tightness in price action with decreased volume. We're prepared for volatility to the upside or the downside. In this case, we get a break lower, right? So you can see how this tool helps you. We get a break lower, we go back down, and we continue consolidating a little bit more. So from tight price action and dry up in volume, we see directional movement in this case, or this particular example, to the downside rather than the upside. So you can see how powerful that is if you were to, be able to scan for this really, really quickly. And this is how we, we'll set up a screen real time that will help us do that. So we'll go to proprietary ratings, RMV. Let's just say on a 15-day basis, show me stocks that are have, relative measured volatility of less than 10, for example. And we add that to our scanner. Now it says that there's 4,301 stocks in our database that have a relative measured volatility on a 15-day basis. They're relatively tight where the value is 10 or less. The second thing we could do is just to set up some criteria, have some liquidity measures. So let's just say, show me all stocks above 15 only, give me, common stocks. So I just want to look at equities in the market. So now we're getting better and better. Let's put a dollar average in here as well. So let's go to price and volume, and let's just say we want average volume to be average dollar volume. So average volume on a 15-day basis. Let's just say, we want some liquidity in the name. So 150K, add that in. Now we're getting to 600. Let's also say that the dollar volume on an average 20-day basis is at least, 20 million. It trades 20 million in terms of money, average dollar volume a day. Now we're getting into, some stocks, 484. And now you could get creative. You kind of have your liquidity base in there. I want stocks that are liquid, that are trading good volume, that have average, volume of at least 150,000 shares, and that are trading 20 minutes. So we have our liquidity requirements and we have our relative measured volatility. Now, on top of this, you can add some performance requirements as well, right? You don't want to look at stocks that are tight but in major downtrends, for example. So if you're trading, with the trend to the upside, we can introduce some, absolute ratings or, relative strength ratings. So let's just do relative strength. On a 3-month, let's just say the stock is, in the top 20%. So the relative strength rating is greater than 80. When we add that, we're now down to 112 names. So on a 3-month basis, right, these stocks have exhibited high relative strength. They're in the top 20% of our database. These stocks are very, very liquid. And the relative measured volatility on a 15-day time frame for these names is starting, they're starting to get very tight on a 15-day basis. Now you can see how this is going to be super helpful, right? We took our 12,000 stocks database, boiled it down to 112 names that kind of exhibit tight price action based on our liquidity requirements and based on our performance requirements as well. So let's just save this as a R&D test 1 for now. We save it, and let's just go through some of these stocks to see, in terms of price action, what we're seeing. So let's just say we pull up CLS now. Now CLS, you could go through 4,000 stocks, right? And you could find a CLS type of name and the way it's shaping up and it's looking. Or we can use relative measured volatility, which makes it very, very easy for us to find these stocks. That's the reason we coded this into the platform, especially for swing traders. It makes it super easy. So you could see as swing traders, like right now, if you've been trading for a while, you already know where the pivot is on this thing. 50 to the top side, and this triggers with a volume dry up that's happening. We have below average volume as we see tight price action up the right side. This can go straight onto your focus list or swing trading list, etc., depending on the situation, market cycle, etc., the other component. But we just found a setup in less than, if you had the scan created, you run it, you come in and do your swing trading routines, right? you will have this name scanning less than 120 names in the market at any given time. So I just want to show you guys the value of relative measured volatility, what it does in terms of finding tight price action. And as you go through any of these results and the scan that we've created, you'll see that price action and price action will be tight on a relative basis, and you'll find consolidations a lot quicker. So BPMC moved up, gapped up, is now consolidating and forming a topside pivot, right? And one of the things that we could do as I go through these names, right? If you want, what you could do is you could say, hey, the name should be at least 5% from its highs, or 3% from its highs. So you avoid names that are already in a trend as well, right? Or you could say, show me names that have tight price action close to the 21-day or close to the 50-day. And for that, you can have, the price versus SMA or EMA filters as well, right? Show me stocks that are closer to the 21-day, that are tightening up and showing a dry up in volume and are very liquid. Now, I'm just trying to unlock that creativity in your guys' mind as to how you could use relative measured volatility, right? And this is, just a plain scan that I've made in less than 5 minutes that gave me 112 names. We can get even more, very narrowed down to create an even better scan that kind of gets rid of something like this. Even though this is getting tight on a relative 15-day basis, it's already in a trend, right? So you may not want to see this name at the moment. So you could say, price percent change over the last 5 days, the stock has been pulling back. So price percent change over the last 5 days is -3 to 5%, that range. Now that will give you stocks that are pulling back, then tightening up, and showing a dry up in volume. So you'll see you could get very creative and find consolidations really, really quickly. So here's another one. CHDN, right? Stock has moved up, meets our liquidity criteria, starting to build a pivot. You could set an alert on this. And as the market trends, this will be a good setup. Here's another one, right? COLS, right around the 20 mark, dry up in volume has, gone up. This could be a pivot on the 2056 as a consolidation pivot, etc. So you get the deal. So like, I hope it's making sense. As I go through these, I can see setups very, very quickly, right? This particular name, deep. So Domino's Pizza gapped up, is now consolidating. Volume's just gone, and it's very tight on a 15-day. Where's your consolidation pivot? 525 to the upside, right? Now, it's a really fast way for you to go all through all of these and find setups very, very quickly. So that was one of the things. Let's see if there are any questions on relative measured volatility, and then we'll move on to the next thing that I want to cover as well.
Somebody's asking if you can make this a DV preset.
So we can, it already is a DV preset. So if I go under screen or presets, go to Deepvue, and you look for tight range. If I were to go to this one, go to filters, it actually might be a better scan because relative measured volatility less than 10, average daily volume of 10 million, so dollar volume of 10 million, ADR. So the name is on an average basis. As a swing trader, we're looking for names that are moving up or down quickly, right? Because you're swing trading. So ADR becomes a good thing that I was going to cover later on. Market cap of 1 billion. So that, these are reputable companies that you're putting your money in. Price is greater than the 50-day and price is greater than the 200-day. So you're looking for trend, right? I made these scan, like the scan that we made real time was using relative strength rating, but you could do the 50-day and the 200-day. And then the second group says, the price percent change on a 5-day basis, it's changed 4% to -4%. So it's been a little volatile. And then there is a double inside day. So double inside day means now it's tight with relative measured volatility less than 10. And this scan is a little bit better than what we built real time. So this is available as a preset under the Deepvue folder. So the idea of this is to teach you guys to unlock your own creativity as to how you can use relative measured volatility and how it could be super helpful to in finding consolidation pivots in the markets very quickly. So I'll go through some questions. I see quite a few questions on RMV.
Is volume dry up part of RMV, or how do you check that separately?
Volume dry up, we could look for a reverse pocket pivot. So let me see if we have reverse pocket pivot in here. If we don't, I can get that. Okay. I will get that configured into the platform by Tuesday. A reverse pocket pivot just looks for a dry up in volume, so the lowest volume in the previous 10 days, and we can easily get that. And then we can also get into the platform a dry up in like a series of days. So if the volume has been below average for X amount of days in a row, that would be also a volume dry up. So we can get both of those just to help you guys. There are different ways to do that. You could look at, the volume today is below the average volume. We can do that. We could say that the run rate today was minus, something. We could say the relative volume is less than 0.5 today, etc. So there are different ways, but we'll code in reverse pocket pivots and volume dry ups by Tuesday.
I'm gonna try to persuade you to code it in as volume dry up instead of reverse pocket pivot.
Okay. What are the best settings for good VCPs? So best settings for good VCPs, if you had to think of it like we have a VCP scan in here. It also uses relative measured volatility. It looks for strength in the market as well. So we tend to use, 15 days of trading. And if it's getting tighter over a span of 15 days, which is closer, it's not a month, but it's closer to, a month of consolidation. Those are the type, it could be up the right side and now it's consolidating. So we have a volatility contraction pattern scan that we've built. That one has given us 77 results right now. So this is a good one you could take and then make your own in the platform. RMB is valid intraday. Yes, RMB is valid intraday. You can have it up on your 15-minute chart, right? With any indicator in Deepvue, you want to make sure like it's not restricted to the daily time frame. So if I go to a 5-minute, it will recalculate for you for that 5 minutes. So it's saying if I have this chart, let's just take a look at it. So we have tightness here, right? We have tightness in price action. We're on a 5-minute now, just fair warning. It's tightness here. So RMB is 0. So we have tightness here in price action, 5-minute chart again on a 15 bar or 15 bar look back. This area is tight and we get directional. So RMV, you could turn on the indicator, add it, and it works on 1 minute, 5 minute, any time frame that you want in the platform. So we answered that. What is the best or ideal number of days for RMV? I would say keep it a zone. Don't think of it as a number. Keep it less than, relative to your, so if you're doing a 15-day look back, right? On a 15-day basis, just say, okay, it's less than 10. The RMB is less than 10. That would mean that, okay, it's starting to tighten up, but it's not fully tight so that you can start to track the setup as well. We will soon have RMB pivots that you can scan for. RMB pivots is basically we're gonna add in a filter into our screening module where you could say, show me stocks that are near this, 15-day RMB, tightness. And then we'll have a near pivot scan that we'll create out of that, but that will be in the next couple of weeks here. So we'll get creative with it, but just to answer your question, think of it as a range, not a specific number. Less than 10 or less than 12 or 13 is a good idea. The more you use it, the better you'll get at it, and you'll see what setting works best for your time frame. Can you scan a period where RMB stays below 10, for example, 5 days? At the moment, we don't have that time series manner, but we are working towards that. We're getting closer to it, and it will unlock a lot of creativity like this. So RMB is less than 10 for 5 days in a row type of scans. Those will be coming very soon. I would say in about 6 to 8 weeks from today. When you save a new screen, where does it get saved? So if I save a new screen, I have the search on, so it gets saved under saved screens. So if I go to the drop down right here, it's saved screens, and then you could save them into a folder, or you could save them like we did the RMB test one, right? So you could create folders, you could create screens, etc., but it gets saved under this drop down, and under saved screens right here, right here.
Can there be a brief description of each of the scans in a question pop-up? So this is, yeah, this is coming. I thought it was, do you know the exact release date, right?
We don't know
Wait,
the exact release, but it will be worked on and coming, I would say early June, for sure.
yeah, pretty soon all of the presets will have an info icon that you can just hover over and it'll tell you exactly what the scan is and all the information.
Awesome. Did you end up integrating anything from your discussions with? Yes, we did. So if you go to screener presets, top traders, you can go under these as you scroll through. So we have column Aggie continuation base, episodic pivot, similar to HVs, recent IPOs, ADR scan, 1 month gainers, 3 month gainers, 6 months. So these are all based on our discussions with him that we have incorporated these. How do you interpret the RS line in conjunction with volume? So I don't want to turn this into like a lecture, I would say. But you could use the relative strength line and see if a stock is in an RS phase. The trend criteria that you have for your trading, that's a whole separate webinar that we could do on that, on how to, scan for stocks that are in a trend. They're different ways, right? We could use absolute strength ratings. We could use relative strength ratings. We could use top stocks and top industry groups, right? Do a combination of top industry groups with the top stocks in that industry group. We could do, there are many different ways. So you want to be making sure that your weekly is in an uptrend, your monthly is in an uptrend, so that when you're trading on the daily, it will automatically be in an uptrend and you have time frame alignment, right? So I won't get too into that right now. Is RMB the same as no, it's not the same. No. RMB is a concept that we built into the platform, only exists on Deepvue and is not anywhere else. It's not RSI. It's not stochastics. I can barely say that properly. It's relative measured volatility. We've made it intentionally based on our experience, exclusive to Deepvue. So it's kind of like a product play as well. I won't lie. When will the screener become active on the iPhone app? Soon, couple of weeks. The Minervini preset is good, but gets a lot of stocks. But can RMB be implemented? Yes, you can take any of the Minervini presets. So if I take, let's say, the trend criteria for 2 months for Minervini, let's just do trend criteria for 5 months, right? I could duplicate it. So just say new. It says 40 characters. Let's just say give it a different name. I have this. Now I can edit this scan, right? And let's just add RMB to this scan. So if I go to 15 days, less than 10 on the RMB scale, add it. It brings the 700 results that the RMB trend template had, and it shows you that now it's down to 256. So you've just cut down, based on tight stocks that are trending, based on the Minervini template, you can just add RMB to it, save it for yourself, and then go through this scan. So you can modify any of these is what I'm trying to say. You don't have to use the Minervini trend template. You could go duplicate it, make it your own in the platform. Okay, so we don't have multiple time frame alignment scan just yet. I will make a note of that. We did discuss it a while ago, and it should be easy to configure. So we'll get that configured as well. I'm just making notes here. Just give me 1 second. So let's get into the next concept. So the next thing that we look for in swing trading. So we look for tight stocks on the daily time frame, right? And we can visualize it using RMV. The next thing I want to cover is we look for pullbacks, right? We look for pullbacks to the 21-day, pullbacks to the 10-day, pullbacks to the 50-day on stocks that are trending to the upside, right? So if a stock's moved up 50% in 3 months, right, and is now consolidating and pulling back into the 10, 21, 50, 65, 200, whatever, moving average, we look for that. We don't look for 200, but 10, 21, and 50. And we look for that pullback to come in. How do you scan for those? So I want to create just a similar scan just to get you guys thinking as to how it could benefit you. So if we go to general, we go to, the last price, let's just put some liquidity requirements again. Let's just say greater than 15. Let's look for average volume. If we click that, it will scroll us down to average volume on a 20-day basis, greater than, let's just say 250K. Well, I'm just putting in some liquidity requirements here. So dollar volume on an average 20-day basis is 20 million, right? We add that. We're narrowing down our database before we get into screening for pullbacks. The next thing I would want is that stock to be in a trend, right? So let's just say Minervini scans use the 200-day today is greater than the 200-day 5 months ago, 3 months ago, 2 months ago, and 1 month ago, right? To see if the 200-day sloping up, that's usually a trend. If the 200-day sloping down, that's not a trend. So we could use that, or we can use absolute strength. So absolute strength is a non-weighted calculation that's based on pure price performance. So if I say that on a 6-month basis, the stock should be in the top 20% in terms of performance. Now we have stocks that have moved up quite a bit, right? I can say from a performance perspective, price change from a 30-day perspective is greater than it's moved up 25% minimum, right? In 30 days. We add that, we'll get now 31 results. Now out of these stocks, now it might be a little too little too narrow in terms of a scan. We could go to price versus SMA. Now we have stocks that have performed, right? That have moved up 25% in 30 days. We have stocks that are liquid, and we have stocks that are in the top 20% of performance on a 6-month basis. So we have the performance aspect built. We have the liquidity aspect of the scan built. Now we want to look at which ones are closer to their 10-day, 21-day, or their 50-day. So for that, I'll introduce an OR group. We look for those flags to form, etc. So you were kind of engineering the scan right now. So price is closer, let's just say, to the 10-day, and it's within 2% of the 10-day. So if I'd say 2% to minus 2%, within 2% minus 2, I'm not able to enter minus 2, add. So it's within 2% of the 21 10-day, and we get no results. Let me see. Dick, let me know if oh, okay. So it's the other way around. Minus 2, 2 plus 2. 10-day range, add those in. And there's 6 stocks that are closer to their 10-day or within 2% of their 10-day while moving up in the markets. So that's the scan, we're trying to build. So let's do one more criteria. So as I add more into this OR bucket, any of them can be true. So it's also 2% within their minus 2 to plus 2 within their 21-day, or it's within 2% of the 50-day, right? Minus 2 plus 2 and add. So any of these can be true for the stock to pass through to these main filters that we have. And let's just take a look at price near SMAs, right? We can call it scan that. Let's just go to this and see what we get. I'll turn on the technical, my key moving averages. I'll go back to the daily chart. First scan we get is a stock that's bought out. Second scan we get. Now this stock has moved up, right? In a span of 30 days, has moved up 25% and is now pulling back and is near SMA. So it could be a potential candidate. It's not a true flag just yet. This stock has also moved up, but doesn't look too great, So there are many buyouts, and we get SMTC. So this stock has moved up and is now pulling into its 10-day. So we can start to track this in terms of a setup, right? We could set up an alert on the top side, or we can set an alert. Okay, when it gets closer to the rising 21-day, I'll take a look at it. So it gives you a pullback into an SMA type of setup. Same thing for Snap. So it has moved up quite a bit. Now it's coming back in to test that 10-day, the rising 10-day. Now we have a flag that's building, right? As a pullback setup after good price performance, pullback setup. We could set up a pivot over here, or however you guys trade in terms of the entry tactics. So this scan, price near SMA that we just built, looks for price performance to the upside. It's very stringent, actually. Like if I look at, absolute strength rating, doesn't have in the top 30% of our database, you'll get more results, right? Price percent change on a 30-day basis has to be 25%. We could change that to like 15%. It'll give you more and more results, right? So you'll get to, let's just take a look at BRT, save this screen. So now the stock has been trending up, pulling back into its 10-day. The other thing we could do is, instead of having a 10-day requirement, you want 21 and 50-day. We could add those here. 2% of the 10-day, 2% of the 50-day. We get no results for that. For that particular stock. So none of those meet the criteria. That's why I had the 10-day in here. So what I'm trying to get at is basically you can scan for stocks that have been in a trend and are starting to pull back as flag setups, which many traders look for in Deepvue. And we do have a preset for that already. So if you don't want to create it, we do have it under technicals and price near SMA. So if I type in SMA, so it's the Richard Moglen 50 SMA pullback is what he's created. So this particular scan looks for, prices near 50-day. There's strong performance on a 1-month and a 12-month basis. The stock is gapped up more than 8%. And the ADR, he always includes ADR, which gives you volatility as well. So that's the second thing that I wanted to cover. That's the second thing that I wanted to cover in terms of scanning for pullbacks in Deepvue. The third thing I want to go over is pure momentum, right? That's the third concept of, stocks that are moving up at rapid speed. How do we scan for those so that when they flag, we can build watch lists? So I have a high tight flag watch list that I kind of keep track of, update. So stocks that have moved up, 100% in less than 8 weeks can then form a flag and then move up from there as well. So for that, we have just a simple criteria, which let's go ahead and build a new scan. If I type in high tight flag, it doesn't come up. HDF, no. So if I go under technicals, technical patterns, we don't have the high tight flag. So Nick, that's another thing. We'll have a technical pattern called high tight flags. Well, I'll show you guys another way to do the same thing. We just haven't made it for you. We've made it harder than it's supposed to be. So if I type in high tight flag, we work with Leif on this one. So it looks for, I'll zoom in here and go through the criteria. So it's moved up 80% or more in 60 days. That's one of the main criteria. It's part of the NASDAQ or NYSE exchange. So he's looking for really liquid stocks and proven companies, right, that are good enough to be on those exchanges. He's looking at the 50-day has to be greater than the 150. So he's looking for an uptrend, right? The 50. So sometimes a stock might gap up 80% in one day. It could be a biotech name. And then the moving averages may not be skewed enough yet. So he's trying to weed those out with 50-day greater than 150. Average volume is 200K at a minimum. And the stock is greater than 5. And it's a common stock. So it's an equity scan. So if we go over this scan, which I just loaded in, it's part of your presets, high tight flag. You could look for, stocks that have good price performance, but are now starting to. So any of these, as you go through, you could go through and check which ones have it. This particular scan where things have moved a lot in a short span of time, that's the definition of high tight flags. It's a good momentum watch list to keep track of. And when the market gets really, really good, right? When there's high risk appetite in the markets, or there are new themes that are developing, like marijuana stocks or crypto, or a theme in AI, etc. The smaller names, the smaller caps will move a lot faster and at a rapid pace because they're supported by a theme in the markets. And this HDF scan kind of takes care of that. It will show you some of those names, some of those very volatile names that exist. So this is a good one. The third thing that I wanted to cover, and the last thing that we'll go over in terms of swing trading, is building your data panel. So we'll go ahead and build a new data panel from scratch, and I'll show you guys some of the different metrics that you want to keep track of as a swing trader. So we'll add a category called just company info. The first thing that I look for, if you're trading for momentum in the markets, is going to be float. So you want to know what the float of that company is. Companies with 200 million or less in terms of float, I would say, have and are moving at a faster pace. Those shares get absorbed and you have a lot of float turnover, right? So you want to know, if a company has 150 million, 200 million, so something like a Palantir moves a lot slower, something like a Uber moves a lot slower than something like a DocuSign, which moved really fast because the float was in that 250 million, 150 to 250 million. The second thing that I would look at is obviously float turnover. So if you're turning over your float really, really fast, and what your average float turnover is on a 20-day basis, that means the stock is just seeing enormous volume. And if that momentum is to the positive side, that stock will double really, really quickly as well. So these are some of, three. Another one is ADR, so your average daily range. So as swing traders, what we're doing is we're looking for volatility in the markets. That is essentially what swing trading is, right? We want names that have a habit of moving up or down X amount of percent. So if a stock has a habit of moving 3% up to the or to the downside, we want to be in that type of group of stocks that we're looking for, right? But if you take a stock that has a habit of moving up 3 or minus 3%, and then you slap RMB on top of that and say, hey, is this stock starting to get tight relative to itself? Now you have a swing trading setup that captures volatility through average daily range and RMV, which captures tightness. So from a conceptual perspective, as swing traders, we're just looking for volatility, right? So you can add ADR, or some people like to add or track it through ATR as well. So you can add any of those to your data panel, and it will show that calculation for any symbol that we have in our database. Another thing I would say that's important if we were to go through would be the price percent changes. So it's good to know in terms of price performance how the stock is doing, right? So you can have month to date be there. It just gives you an idea. Okay, this stock has already moved up 20% in the last 30 days, etc. So knowing those metrics is also important when it comes to swing trading, and we have we've gone above and beyond on those. That comes to mind, and anything else that you guys look for, feel free to put that in the comments. But these are some of the key metrics that you could have in your data panel on a stock by stock basis that will kind of give you the specs for a name and expect how fast it could move. So if I were to X out of this, now I have this data panel up here. So we could go to, let's just say, a scan that we just made, RMB test 1. Gives us 112 stocks. If we were to go to CLS, this stock looks pretty good. This one. So if we go through the specs of this particular name, it has 118 million shares float. Okay. So it's a decent float. This thing will move up and down really, really, really quickly. On a 14-day basis, the ADR is 1.93. So this is actually dollar ADR, not percentage. So we can also, we have ADR percentage available as well. So it moves a minimum of, on an average 14-day basis, up or down $2 is what we've added. You could convert that into percentage by going to, the edit panel, and we just type in ADR percentage. It will give you ADR percentage 14-day. Let's just add that, and we'll also add ATR percentage 14-day. X out of this. Now you have some, it moves on average on a 14-day basis, this particular setup that we're seeing 4%. So now you have some expectation. Hey, if I'm trading volatility in the markets, how volatile is it going to get on me? So if you set, a 2% stop on a 4% range, so if it breaks this, you want to be a little bit more, lenient with how it moves up and down. Another thing is float turnover is not that high, so we're not seeing on a 20-day basis, we're not seeing ginormous volume come into this name. It's only 2%. And the month-to-date percent change on this is 12%. So what I'm trying to do here is to give you guys an idea of some of the specs that are important, right? That are important for you to catch. Let's say you catch this breakout over here. It's important to know some of these specs so you can kind of anticipate what kind of movement you're going to get out of those names. So with that, I'll pause there. Let's take a few questions as well. Nick, do you see any questions?
Yeah, love these webinars. Oh, actually, first, Dean, did a recent update nuke our already saved data panels? Mine is not user, and I don't see what I have set up.
So yes, we're gonna restore those on Monday. So they were gonna be restored on Monday. That's already in the works. That's our bad. I spoke to the team on Friday as well. They're gonna be restored Monday. Yep.
Sorry about that, Dean. Love these webinars. Please consider one to go beyond understanding the data points and filters and talk through strategies for swing trading entries.
Tomorrow at 10. We're gonna do live streams going forward on the Trader Line channel. Tomorrow at 10. We're gonna scan the markets together. Tomorrow at 10 on the Trader Line. There's gonna be an announcement later today. It's gonna be every Sunday at 10. We're gonna sit and scan the markets together and come up with focus lists, etc. And my opinion, Nick's opinion, Ross's opinion, Richard's opinion, etc. So we're very excited to bring that back. I think it's going to be very, very useful. Obviously, we're going to use Deepvue. So tomorrow at 10, there's going to be an announcement on the TL handle for sure. So great question, timely question. Is there a way to scan for recent pocket pivots? Yes, there is. So if you go under new screen, you just search pocket pivots. Pocket pivots. It's going to go to technicals. It's going to tell us to go to pocket pivots. We'll optimize all this search stuff in a couple of weeks here. Now I just say yes, and we'll get 814 pocket pivots for today. Now, the question is going to be, can I get pocket pivots over the last 5 days? Not yet. In 6 to 8 weeks from today, we're going to have this capability of a time series database where you can scan anything over any span of days as well. Awesome. So I answered that question. Is that available for Deepvue subscription? It's free. It's going to be on the Trader Line YouTube channel. It's completely free. It's going to be a live stream on that YouTube channel.
Where did you find the data panel with the checkboxes? Any of the values in Deepvue that are a true false value, it will display a check for true and an X for false. So if you just use any of those true false data points, it'll have a checklist for you.
And this really helped me out. If you guys are trading high volume names that are gapping up, include your HVE, HV1, HVIPO as a check mark. This alone has made me a lot of money in the last 2-3 weeks after Nick taught me how to do it. It just gives you a really visual view of, okay, SG is a HVE, right? You have a check mark right there. Your eyes go to that, and then you can focus on it. Same thing with ADMA. So it's a HV1. So it's gapped up. You can see, how it looks here. And then you see a check mark. So that's a nice tip that Nick shared a couple of weeks ago. Huge value, awesome. Release notes will be next week. There's some outstanding items that are pending with our release. Full release notes will be next week. Is there a way to scan for a declining trend line breakout? Scan for a declining trend line breakout. We do not have that. We don't have that. So I will make a note of that. We will look into it, but we don't have any price recognition type of scans at the moment. Our first one will be RMV pivots, which will be available in a couple of weeks, which will take RMVs. We'll have a pivot definition for them, and then you can have a near pivot scan, which will really be a near RMV pivot scan, which will be super helpful in kind of the next iteration of this. Any plans for a preset in the near future? So let's take a look. Let's take a look. So we go here, we type in stage analysis, stage 2 stocks. We have stage 2 and 2A available. So it's already available. Under screener presets, if you type stage, you'll get the Stan Weinstein stages. You click that, you could duplicate it, right? Let's just say I don't want 2, I want 2A. Save this. Go to edit filter, go here, click this stage, and let's just say I want 2A only. Save that. These are only 2As now. These are only 2As because I just changed my criteria to be 2A. Hope that makes sense.
What is the difference between HVE and HVIPO? HVE is just highest volume ever, so it's bigger than the IPO day. HVIPO is just, it's the biggest volume day, but it didn't surpass the initial IPO day.
Yes, perfect. We could take a live example of that today. HVIPO. Let's take a look at this one. No. No, I don't have a good example, but we'll share a good example of it. Like something that's only HVIPO. So I'll find one. What's the difference between stage 2 and 2A? 2A is an early stage 2. So we have the definitions for all of those. If you go on the bottom left of your Deepvue, go to knowledge base, and you type in stage analysis. We have definitions for each of those stages available in the knowledge base. 2A is an early stage 2. And stage 2 is when it confirms that it's in stage 2. Is there any way of doing industry sector ranking? And yes, that's coming Thursday, hopefully. If not Thursday, the Tuesday after that, where you will be able to click sectors and industries. There's actually a couple updates coming. Sorry. So you will be able to select, if I go to my user panel, my other one. So you will be able to select the sector that's available here. You just click it and you will go into that sector. You'll also have a drop down to see top stocks within that particular sector as well. So both of those will be available next Thursday or the Tuesday after. Can't guarantee, unfortunately. What's the difference between DV rating and relative strength and absolute strength? Deepvue rating is a composite. It takes all the ratings into account into one. It's kind of like the market surge composite rating, but we call it Deepvue rating. So it combines all different ratings into one. Okay, is there a way to communicate via email what features were added each month might be useful? So you could just go here in the bottom left and you click news, and you click this and you could see what was added recently. So our last update was this up. We did an update on Thursday. We don't have the release notes up yet. Once it's complete, the release is fully complete. We'll upload them on Tuesday next week. Any update regarding fundamental database and screening? Yes, we're close to it. It's not available yet, obviously. We'll take a couple more weeks to finalize it. Right now it's in testing, so we're testing it extensively. Okay, can you add a data panel to the dashboard module? Definitely, that's in the plans. Will be a May thing. The last week of May, we will start working on that and then get that done by early June. Nick, do you see any other questions? Yeah, I like this one. Chart designated for swing trading chart templates are in our plans and our roadmap to get done. As well, we introduced data panel presets, but the release is not fully done yet on those. So by Tuesday next week, we'll have a lot more data panel presets. We've started creating folders and planning some of that stuff out. Would you be, what would be the difference in looking at swing trades for days versus swing trade? Let's cover that tomorrow. Like any educational stuff we can get into tomorrow's session. I don't ever use money flow indicator, no. Is there a way to combine results of several screens and count the number of stocks that appear in the screen? Combine 6 screens and see stocks that appeared in 3 of the 6 screens. Nick.
Yeah, this is we've had this suggested a couple times, like in a couple variations, but they're all kind of the same concept. This is something that we are working on designing still. So it just got to get designed, and then after that, it'll get pushed to development. That'll probably be like a July thing or August.
Last update you see is in February. No, last update was this past Thursday. So if you don't see it, we'll double check it. But we release a minimum one update every 2 weeks. Do you have any fundamental filters that you add to your screens? Yes, we have fundamental filters. If you take a look at fundamentals, we have a very limited amount right now. Pure fundamentals based on like cash flow, income statements, and those, but we have a lot of earnings and sales. Last webinar we did was trading growth stocks in Deepvue. That will be out tomorrow morning. If you missed that, the recording will also be sent out. That goes over exactly how to use, revisions, estimates, surprises, scan for those, etc. So,
Is there any plan to give visibility into stocks of that other Deepvue subscribers are added to their watch list? That is, yeah, really cool and something that we've talked about and are still planning a little bit. But yeah, eventually you'll be able to see basically like trending or most popular stocks based off what people are adding to their watch list and stuff. We're also going to introduce a default Deepvue list for positions, so you'll also be able to see um, what most people in Deepvue are holding, and that'll also add some cool functionality, like you'll get notifications before earnings and after earnings and all that good stuff. So yeah, we're definitely gonna you're gonna be able to see what other Deepvue users are like, what's most popular in the community, and kind of related, we're also gonna open up a community within the application so that everybody can share their own screens and share their own list, and it's much easier to share and see what the most liked and shared screens are. So a lot of that is coming to Deepvue.
awesome. You're someone on their iPhone. Does the process support small caps and low price stocks? Yes, we have low price stocks in the database. We will add OTC markets actually in a couple of weeks here as well, which will grow our database from 12,000 to 30,000 symbols. But we'll enable OTC pretty soon too. Personally, am combining screen results in Excel and then copying tickers to deep list. Interesting. So there is a way to combine screens in Deepvue. So if I go to the Deepvue universe, this is the best example. So let's say I have a base criteria, but I'm looking for a few different things. So what you could do is put your base liquidity, price, whatever criteria over here. And then in group 2, 3, and 4, which you add an OR logic. Any of these being true will give you the results for the scan. So this could be your first screen, your second screen, and your third. So that's a manual way of combining it, but we're looking on combo screens will be available too in June this year. So next month.
Suggestion to make the drop downs on the header of the dashboard um, easier for like small laptops. This is all over the application. We know that we're not optimized if you have like a small screen right now. We by default, if you guys know what padding is, it's like the spacing around text, and we always use too much and then have to peel back. So the drop downs are going to be a lot easier to navigate. It's going to be a lot smaller. You'll be able to see more text in more area, and it'll be sized properly for any small screens.
Okay, what is the shortest time frame you monitor for daily? I always have a 5 minute and a 65 minute up as well if I'm actively at the desk. 65 minute just to give me a like kind of an intermediate trend. Is it consolidating enough? 5 minute just for entries. And then the daily. Those are the 3 that I use. DP is awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mike. I have trouble saving column sets when I change between watch lists. What am I doing wrong? Great question. So when you switch between watch lists, your column sets are not saving. So let's say I have this focus list, right? Let's just get rid of the chart, just talk about this column set. I have a focus list and I have these columns for that focus list. So the columns that I have here are part of my FL update, or I've created this column set called FL focus list update. You can name and create any number of column sets that you want, right? And I've assigned this column set to this particular screen. So every time I go back and come back to this, so every time I come back, let's say I go to IPOs or some other watch list that has some other column. So this particular watch list, the breadth watch list, has the recommended column set. Now, when I go back to focus, it goes back to FL update. So your column set that you assign to your screen is always saved to that screen. So if I assign another one to my HV, so let's say if I assign tight screen to my HV and I go back to focus, it will go back to the focus list update column set. So you can create infinite number of column sets. You can assign these column sets to your watch list and have it that way. That's at least how I do it. And they save quite well.
Every time Henry logs in, it starts with the latest update is February, and Manuals is asking where can we see which update we have for Deepvue. So there's probably something we have to look into.
You always have the latest update as long as you refresh. So that's for starters. We don't have like a version number, etc., that's showing on the front end side. For Henry's question, we'll fix that. I know exactly what might be causing that as well. Is there a way for tickers on a screen to be frozen, or should I copy these to Deep List? So can we turn off real-time screen? So that's something that's been requested.
Yeah,
Where
currently no, but
some
we've gotten
folks don't want real-time screening. So we'll think of that. Great question. So we'll end it there. We'll end it there. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. If you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, and if you have any questions on anything we discussed, feel free to push that in the comments. We're always, happy to answer those. If you have any questions on Deepvue, you can reach out to hello@deepvue.com, and we're more than happy to answer those questions. We do have a two months for 39 promo that is going on right now. If you're watching this video, to sign up, that will be in the comments section below. If you haven't downloaded the Deepvue mobile app on iOS or Android, go ahead and do that. Leave us a 5-star so we could grow really, really, really quickly and add all the features that we talked about today that are coming up in the pipeline a lot faster. And it helps us out quite a bit to, grow as a platform. And every subscription that we get, we pour that money back into development so that we can get new features faster. So I hope you guys have a good weekend.